There's a few things you mentioned which I loved, which was doing psilocybin in a ceremonial way.
Yeah.
Once a month is what I like to do. And I see it as a calibration for the soul. No matter how good or bad life is going, you can get a tune-up. You can get some extra insights from this mushroom energy that will show you a more zoomed out perspective of your life. And it's like looking at yourself in the maze. And you're like, oh, I keep banging against this door. If I just take this right shortcut here and then, oh, okay. And the door opens, and you unlock the next level. Is that how you see it as well?
That's exactly how I see it, man. And this is why I said, you can either let it snowball in a negative sense or a positive sense, but you still need to, I think, show up for it regardless. And, in the sense of, let's say, doing like psilocybin or, kind of having that ceremonial experience once a month, I look at it as kind of like topping me up a bit, and not in the like druggy sense, but more in the, you need to show up and have that space for yourself and open the door once in a while and just let out some old air and let in some fresh air.
Yeah.
That thing is just open the door. Just open the door and let's get some fresh air in here.
Yeah.
That's how I see it,
Hello, beautiful soul. Welcome to the James Xander Trip, where we dive into spirituality, psychedelics, breathwork, altered states of consciousness, the nature of reality, and how we can bring all of this down to earth to improve our mind, connect with our heart, and up-level our relationship with life. Joining me today is Damian Schechter. Damian is an athlete, a performance coach, and the founder of the All-Rounder Athlete Program, a program that helps men and women look, feel, and perform like athletes. But that's not the main reason I invited Damian on the pod. As successful as he is in his fitness and his business, there's a deeper story underneath that got me curious. A story of finding one's spiritual path. A story of abandoning what's not working and venturing out into the unknown to find one's true place. And a story of how a little bit of psilocybin can change one's perception of life forever. So without further ado, Damian Schechter, welcome to the James Xander Trip.
That was the most unbelievably awesome intro ever. Dude, thank you. Yeah, I appreciate it. It's good to be here, bro.
Such a pleasure. Thank you for coming and spending your time with me.
For sure.
When I first met you, it was at a dinner, and you were sitting at the end of the table. And I looked at you and I was like, there's something about the energy of that person that was really fascinating to me. And when I got talking to you, I discovered you were on a spiritual quest to discover what your heart was trying to tell you. And you told me this incredible story of how you came to Bali. And I'd love it if you can share it with our audience. What brought you to Bali? What was the series of circumstances that led you to tripping on shrooms on an island with a sunset and having an epiphany?
Yeah, dude, it was definitely one of the crazier times of my life the past 2-3 years. A little bit of background without going too far back. I would say the most recent kind of circumstance to start off this journey would be I got married about 2.5 years ago. And, this is my best friend for a very long time. And then we moved to Portugal. We were there for 4 months and then we decided to split up. And this was at a time where I was building the business. And for me in the background, 6 figures, let's make the money, let's build something to be proud of. And it was very finance driven. For me, obviously wanting to make an impact, help people, change lives, get people into great shape, better health. But the whole COVID situation pushed me online. And when I went online and I explored that space, I saw that there was all of a sudden this standard that needed to be met from a coaching perspective amongst other coaches. All these coaches are 6 figures, or you need to live in Dubai, or if you want to be successful you need to be doing this. So very influenced by that, to the point where then I started focusing mostly on building a brand, and it took me away from my relationship. And so we amicably split up. She went back to the Netherlands. I went to Dubai. So I kind of used that opportunity to say, you know what, I'm going to go all in. there's nothing now that I can lose. Like, I've already lost my best friend, my partner. I rehomed my dog as well, so he could be with people that would actually give him more time, effort, love, energy. And so I kind of sat there one day and I was like, you know what? You can either pull back or you can actually push forward and really go after your business goals. So I moved to Dubai and I was there for about 6 months, 5 months, 6 months. And I sat there one day on the beach, on the palm. And this is now having the apartment in Dubai and the business is going well. I'm training at world-class training facilities. I've just finished an Ironman. Everything was good until this one moment where I just sat on the beach and I looked around me and like, I don't know, man, it just didn't feel like the situation that I'd put myself in didn't align with who inherently I was. For me, I don't need materialistic things to be happy. I don't need to find myself surrounded by money or success, success in the materialistic form. So, to find myself on the beach now, all of a sudden looking around, and there's a beautiful yacht there. There's this Russian dude with like 20 chicks that are, they're all drinking Ciroc. And I was just sitting there just feeling so fucking alone. Like, that was the thing. I just like, sure, I had friends there, but like, I didn't actually have anyone. Like, I just lost my fucking best friend, like my partner, the person that I married 8 months before that, thinking that we were going to spend the rest of our lives together. That's now gone. I'm now not with my friends or my family. They're in South Africa. Business is going good, but like, I just didn't, I don't know, man. Like, I had this moment where all of a sudden a really sad song came on in my AirPods, and I just started crying my eyes out. And I said, something needs to change now. Not things need to change going forward, or like, oh, Monday I'll start doing this differently, or, maybe I'll get home and I'll write about it. Like, no, something drastic needs to change right now because you are unhappy. Like, that's it. Like, and I accepted it in that moment that I was actually just so alone and like unfulfilled. No matter how good business was going, I was unfulfilled. So I got on my phone, I opened up Emirates app, and I booked a ticket to Bali. I'd never been here. And yeah, that's
Why Bali particularly?
it was where me and my ex actually wanted to always come to. And so we'd always done a little bit of research, and I looked at photos, and I think also social media plays a role in that, right? Like, the most beautiful sites in the world, the influencers, like everyone is on this beautiful island. So I was always very curious about it. And so I thought, you know what, now's the time. Like, now's the time to go and explore something so different, culturally unique, on the other side of the world as well. And you're gonna kind of like take in a new experience, which is gonna some way bring something positive into your life, because right now it can't get any worse than how you're feeling.
That moment on the beach where you're sitting and you're tuning into yourself and you're feeling that loneliness. How many other guys in Dubai do you think are actually feeling exactly the same way, but they're not sitting with that feeling? They refuse to look at that.
Yeah. Good question. And also realization, actually thinking about it, right? Is like, if I look at a lot of the people that I know there, they're grinding hard. They're grinding very hard. Like, they are working, man. Like, Dubai is not a cheap place. It's also, not a place where you can go there and have low standards for yourself in a working business sense. You have to have high standards. You have to be a high performer. But man, they're not living, right? Like, that's the thing, is like, you have to understand that like there's two sides of the coin, and when you go to Dubai, you can only choose the one side, right? Like, it's not possible to pull back and enjoy things the way that we do in Bali, for example. You can't do that in Dubai because everything is very far away from each other. You have to be driving everywhere. You have to then pay twice as much to go and have a very basic experience. It's a very different system there that like always requires you to be switched on, and there's not much opportunity there to switch off. And so I think a lot of people are dealing with the same emotions that maybe I felt with, but more will deny and move on and like, you know, kind of ignore it than sit there and just admit this is a bit too much, you know, but it needs to be the right time and place for you.
I think it's such an important moment because I feel every person has that moment in their life where they're grinding away, they're on a path, and one day they're in a quiet moment alone by themselves, and they go, wait a second, I didn't really choose this, or I thought I wanted this, but this isn't it. And they fast forward 10 years on that path, and they're
so I had 2 moments like that. That was the first, and then we obviously fast forwarding now to coming to Bali.
Yes.
All right. So the one moment is the realization of what I don't want, right? Because that doesn't necessarily define what you do want.
Right. Yeah.
So I just realized in that moment, I don't want this anymore, and I don't know what I want.
But it's not this.
It's not this anymore. And so now, 24 hours later, we're in Bali.
Which is so cool. You booked the ticket right away.
3 hours later, I was taking off from Dubai airport. I called a buddy of mine, come get me, take me home, pack a bag, take me to the airport. That was it. 3 hours later on the plane. And so 24 hours later, now I'm here. And I was in Seminyak for about 2 days. And then somebody said something about there's 3 islands. And I was like, oh, you know what? Actually, cool. Let me go and, you know what? I've got a few days off. Like, let me go check out an island. So anyways, Gili tea. I get to Gili tea. And a friend of mine messaged me on Instagram. And she's like, are you doing mushrooms on the island? So I'm like, I didn't know that they did mushrooms on the island. But then that opened my eyes to just looking around. And they've got these like little mushroom bars surrounding the entire island. And I was like, you know what? Fuck it. Fuck it. Like, I do love a little bit of psilocybin. Like, and I'm in a place right now where I feel like I do just need to spend that time alone and to actually just maybe like just detach a bit, you know, from sitting on a laptop for going, even for coffees. Like, I don't even want a stimulant right now. Like, I just actually want to sit with myself. And I haven't done mushies for so long. Actually, yeah, you know what? I'm in a good environment. And I think the one thing that scares people is that they're like, oh, I'm not in control, you know, like what if something bad happens? But, you know, the one thing I've always known since my first trip when I was 16, 15, is that you are in control. No matter what happens, like you actually always in control. If something negative happens, for example, you're still in control over that situation. So for me, it was a very comfortable thing to actually say, you know what? I'm going to go and just watch the sun go down, have a mushroom milkshake. And that was it, bro, is that I found myself on the beach. Sun was going down. There was a volcano in the distance. And as the sun was going down, they lit this massive bonfire next to me. There were 2 horses galloping across the beach right in front of me. What a moment. What a moment, honestly. And
everything is so divinely synchronized on a trip.
Everything. And that was the moment that I realized then what I did want. So they came very like back to back, where it was like, this is what I don't want, and now this is actually the life that I do want to live. On mushrooms every day, it's a bit we can maybe like space that out a little bit more, you know, but the elements of sun, water, sand, nature, these were things that I'd been so disconnected from for living in Dubai. Dude, there's no natural beauty there. Like, it's a desert, it's sand. So, you know, me spending a lot of time there, either in the desert or concrete, you know, I hadn't really connected with like the earth again. I hadn't like actually been near just nature in its like purest form. And then you add a little bit of psilocybin to the mix, and all of a sudden, like, you're really grounded. You're so rooted in that moment. And that was the moment where I realized, yeah, dude, you need to let that old part of you die off. Like, you need to let that old version of you that was not happy. You can't carry any of those elements into this new chapter of your life. So I called my landlord that day. I canceled the lease agreement. I got a friend of mine to also go in there and take some stuff out for me. And here we are, 7 months later. It's been pretty wild.
In these 7 months, what has Bali taught you the most?
I think it's firstly the people is maybe the one thing that always stands out to me when I speak about like how Bali has changed my life, because, you know, there's just no ego here. People have respect for you. They have respect for one another. They live in good karma.
That's a big one.
That's a huge one, dude, because when you, not even now speaking about Dubai, like as I mentioned to you just now, like I've lived in Portugal, Amsterdam, South Africa. There's just no good karma in most other societies in the world. There's no respect for one another. It's a bit lawlessness out there, you know, and coming here has definitely just grounded me a lot more, and, you know, made me realize that there needs to be respect. And dude, I've never been a disrespectful person. I've always like been really, you know, good natured to anyone that I know. But here it's just really made me appreciate that and try and cultivate that more within myself, towards other people. So yeah, that's one of the things. But it's also made me realize that like you don't need much to be happy. And I think also when you are a foreigner and you come here with a foreign currency and you know, you're able to maybe buy whatever you want in the sense, and then you see people that actually don't have a lot and they don't make a lot of money. I mean, I found out the other day that average wage here is like 3.5 million rupiah per month, which is 180 euro. It's 200 euro. That's nuts. You know, so when you see people that don't earn a lot of money like that, and they are so happy and they're still so kind and they choose to still be so nice because it's ingrained in them, just that's the Balinese way, is that there's just respect, kindness, good karma, and they've got a good nature. And so that's also really brought me down to me now living within my means. I don't need to splurge. I don't need to be a big dick with my money here. You know, I think a lot of people do come here and do that. But for me, it's just also made me appreciate what I have, appreciate what I earn, and also see that it doesn't hold much value if you can't be kind to people and you can't respect people. So yeah, it's been a massive thing coming here, just, you know, reaffirming how I treat myself and treat others. Yeah.
You know, sometimes people, they do a mushroom trip and they get these insights of how they need to change their life.
Yeah.
Then they wake up the next day and they're like, they lose a part of that frequency. And what I love about your story is you haven't lost that frequency. It seems to me that you got the downloads, you got the message, and you integrated the hell out of it
For sure.
for the next 7 months.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, is that a part of your personality to really follow through on those intuitions, or were you just super ready to commit to this new path that you were able to instantly let go of Dubai, let go of the old lease, and step into the new you?
I was desperate. I think that's the thing. Like I really, I say this to my clients is, you know, change either comes from inspiration or desperation. And that was it for me. It was like, I was just desperate as fuck. Like I'd really hit a solid low. Like that moment in Dubai, I hit a solid low where I was just like, and also the paradox between it, right, is I was on the beach in Dubai, and then I was actually in that moment of realizing what I don't want. And then at the same time, I was on the beach on Gili and realized what I did want, right? So, but if you had to take a photo of each situation and put them next to each other, completely different energy.
Yeah.
That's the thing, is like man-made, constructed beach. That's it. That's all it is. Here I'm on the island. I've got the sun going down with a volcano in front of me. What the fuck, dude? Like, it is honestly this moment of like, I can't believe that I'm living this right now, you know? But to go back to your question, is it happened out of desperation. Like, I didn't really have anything else to lose, but I also realized I've only got to gain. Like from here, you know, the furthest you can fall is the floor. This is what my drama teacher used to say to me in high school, you know, like, cool, if you stuff up your lines, remember the furthest, you know, you can fall is the floor, and then what? You get back up, you know?
I love that.
And I've always kept that in the back of my head where, you know, dude, yeah, now you're at a low. Like, this is a new low that you haven't experienced, but yeah, it's the furthest you can fall is the floor. Like, now you need to just decide, what are you going to change? Like, what are you going to bring into your life now that you haven't done before, and why haven't you done that? So this is where I took on the journey of things like regular psilocybin, you know, and doing breath work, regularly, reading a lot more. These are all things that, like, yeah, sure, maybe the mushies, occasionally more from, let's say, a trance party, go do some mushies on the weekend, have a bit of fun, but more from, let's say, a nootropic level and more from like a treatment perspective. Like these things, if you just do it once in a little while, knowing that it actually brings you up, and it gives you those moments of clarity and moments where, when you're alone, you can either be stuck inside your own head or you can just unlock the door and actually just like let it flow. So doing that regularly has also been a massive game changer for me. But the other things that I started doing since coming here, reading, it's a simple thing, bro. Like I didn't read, when we spoke on the beach month and a half, 2 months ago, just before I went to South Africa, I mentioned to you, like, I didn't do much reading up until like 7 months ago was the first time I'd actually like started picking up a book and educating myself on Eastern philosophy, on, different habit forming methods that I can now start bringing into my life. So that was one of the things that I was ready to take on as a challenge because I'd never done it. Breath work. Dude, was one of the most distracted people where I can't close my eyes and hold my breath for like more than 30 seconds without opening the eyes, picking up the phone, logging into Instagram, So that was also a major thing for me, was to start forcing myself to go into a breathwork class. Start, pushing myself to walk into a yoga shala and go and do meditation for an hour. And that was a lot harder than anything else I've ever done. It's a lot harder for you to go into a 2-hour breath work than it is for you to go and train for an hour. And a lot of people, especially in my industry, they all say, my release and my getaway and my time is in the gym, training. That's where I take out all my frustration. And that's where, and that was my mindset, right? It was like, oh no, I give back to myself. I give back to myself every day. I go for an hour. I train really hard. I run, I cycle, I do an Ironman. But then there was also that point where I realized, yeah, but that's also a distraction because you're not sitting with anything spiritual, emotional, or behavioral in a positive sense in the backseat. Like none of that's been addressed. For the past 10 years that you've been chasing this career, you've not prioritized your spiritual and mental health and well-being at all, and emotional well-being at all. And those are all the things that I started to get worried about in that moment on the beach where I was like, yeah, dude, you can always go back to the gym. You can always build a 6-figure business. You can always run a marathon. But once you lose, let's say, some part of yourself, that's going to be very hard for you to try and unpack at a later stage, So yeah, that was I think also the one thing that I wanted to start doing was just focusing a little bit more on my spiritual and mental well-being since being here.
I love that. And what I see in that is responding to life's call. It's like life was calling you to a new moment.
Yeah.
Okay, you've done the physical transformations. We need you to focus on the spiritual transformation. And you responded to the call, which takes courage, which takes decision.
Yeah.
So many people, they and it's a quiet call as well. It's not going to be screaming in your head unless you get to a point of desperation. And you heard the call, you followed through on it.
Yeah.
There's a few things you mentioned which I loved, which was doing psilocybin in a ceremonial way.
Yeah.
Once a month is what I like to do. And I see it as a calibration for the soul. No matter how good or bad life is going, you can get a tune-up. You can get some extra insights from this mushroom energy that will show you a more zoomed out perspective of your life. And it's like looking at yourself in the maze and you're like, oh, I keep banging against this door. If I just take this right shortcut here and then, oh, okay. And the door opens, and you unlock the next level. Is that how you see it as well?
That's exactly how I see it, man. And this is why I said, you can either let it snowball in a negative sense or a positive sense, but like, you still need to, I think, show up for it regardless. And, in the sense of, let's say, doing like psilocybin or, kind of having that ceremonial experience once a month, I look at it as kind of like topping me up a bit, you know, and not in the like druggy sense, but more in the, you need to show up and have that space for yourself and open the door once in a while and just let out some old air and let in some fresh air.
Yeah.
You know, that thing is just, just open the door. Just open the door and let's get some fresh air in here.
Yeah.
That's how I see it, you know, where you're not in a chaotic environment, right? Like, and even if you were, you'd be in control enough to leave and go and do something that you enjoy. But, you know, when you're on an island, on mushies, it's very hard to not have a good experience. And that's what I look forward to. You know, great, I'm going to go away for 2 days, put the phone off. I've booked a place that has a hammock. I've got my book. And you know what? I don't need anything else.
It's your happy place.
Just my happy place, you know? So for me, I've found that happy place. You know, a lot of people I think don't have that yet, maybe, you know? So that's why there's still, let's say, a negative connotation, you know, with doing something like psilocybin, because they haven't found, let's say, the right place, the right time, or the right circumstance for that to be conducive in a positive manner. Like, little side story, I went to the island about 3 months ago, and there's a guy that had just moved from Dubai to Canggu, and I wasn't really friends with him. I'd met him once in Dubai, but I said, look, dude, welcome to Bali. I'm here if you need anything, but I'm actually going to an island this weekend, and I'm not going to be partying. I'm not going to be, like, you know, getting wasted, but I am going to just, you know, be having a little bit of time to myself, do some mushrooms and, you know, write, journal, read. And so, would you like to come with? And he's like, oh yeah, cool, sweet, we're going to a party island. I'm like, you can party, like, that's totally fine, but for me, I know what I'm going for. So anyways, he's never done mushrooms before. So we get to the island and we both have a nice little mushroom milkshake, watch the sun go down. Chilled. I said, bro, don't overthink it here. You know, don't expect anything either. Go with it. Like, don't expect all of a sudden, it's not like a line of Coke. You know what I mean? Like, because I think that was also his expectation. You know, he comes from that party lifestyle. And so he's like, oh yeah, but I've never taken this drug before. I'm like, first mistake. It's not a drug. It's a medicine. Right? So let's just reframe how we see this.
Yeah.
And so already from the get-go, there's just parts of me that are like, this wasn't a good idea, you know? But you do you, boo. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to stay in my lane, try and have a good time with you. And then we started cycling back home, and the chain fell off his bike. Chain fell off the bike, and he freaked out. Dude freaked out, okay? So I'm just like, buddy, it's just a chain. Don't worry, I got it. I'll fix it. It's okay. But by then, I'm also tripping a bit, you know? So I put the chain back on, and 2 minutes later, the seat kind of like conks out a bit. So anyways, now I turn back and I see this dude, and he has kicked the bike to the ground. He's walking away from the bike in the opposite direction. And he's like, these mushrooms are making me go crazy. I'm like, yeah, this is where I identified that there's an internal problem here. It's not mushrooms, right? Like, this is where I started to see how it can snowball in a really negative sense, or it can snowball in a really good sense. But the only thing that dictates that is actually internally what's going on with you, right? It's not the mushrooms. The mushrooms don't do bad things to you. It's just you that has unresolved issues, right? And you have not faced those yet. You have not sat down with yourself and done the emotional and perhaps spiritual heavy lifting, right? Because had you done that, you would actually be approaching those situations, regardless whether you're on mushrooms or not, in a very different sense. It's just a chain. It's just the saddle. But that immediate frustration and that immediate anger and that outburst, you know, when I saw that from an outsider's perspective, I realized how much growth had happened within myself, because that was a mirror of who I was 7 or 8 years ago when I was taking lots of steroids and competing in bodybuilding shows. that was a complete mirror of me. And then that made me sit with myself afterwards and just be like, whoa, you've really come a long fucking way, bro. Like in that moment, I had so much power with myself, and I was like, whoa, dude, like as much as you pity this dude and like you wish him the best, there was so much like energy within myself in that moment where I was like, whoa, dude, that's a mirror of you, and you have seriously come a long, long way. But you know, had I, let's say, not taken the psilocybin that evening, I wouldn't have looked at it in that sense. I probably would have actually gotten a little bit frustrated with him because he was just being a little bit of a dick. So I like that it can just open up just a next level of thinking, or a next level of perceiving something. Yeah, which is why I like to do that once in a while, because then I can look at what's bothering me at the moment, or what's going on in my life at the moment that I need a soundboard. I need a soundboard myself. And maybe myself on the psilocybin is then that second opinion that I actually need.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. That's it. I don't need another person to soundboard. I need to soundboard with myself, but on a slightly different level of consciousness.
Yes. I feel like it's connecting to your higher self.
Yeah.
On these
That's
trips.
It. Yeah.
Your most ideal, compassionate, calm, kind self. And they see your life through a totally different prism than your human avatar self.
Exactly. Yeah.
And in the trip, you merge with it.
Yeah.
Or you get access to the insights of your higher self. And you're like, okay, I could look at this relationship differently. Or,
exactly.
I do need to go forgive that person. Or I need to go apologize to that person. And it's like everyone is a mirror for everything. And it's also interesting that with your friend, his frustration led to more frustration. So when I see that the bike saddle seat is breaking, to me, it's not a random occurrence. It's a direct reflection to his internal state, the chain coming off. It's just life mirroring back exactly what's going on within.
Yeah, that's it. The bike is broken.
Yeah, how are you going to react
is
the question.
Yeah, the bike is broken. And I looked at that as, it didn't break with me, but it broke with you. And the way that you responded showed me that you're broken. It was very representational of what was going on in this dude's life. And that evening, we sat on the beach, and he looked at me just before this had happened. And he's like, dude, you know what? Thank you for giving me your time, because no one else gives me their time. And, you know, I know that I've got problems, and I know that like I'm not an easy person to deal with. So I really appreciate this moment, you know, like watching the sun go down with you. You're a really cool guy. And I was like, that was the most sincere thing I'd heard from this guy in the past 2 days. Otherwise, the rest, I was watching him just be so disrespectful to people, bro. Like, when I go somewhere, I ask them, how are you doing? You know what I mean? If, like, even if you don't speak Indonesian, that's also okay, but you can also just be nice. And here, people were asking him how he's doing, and he would just completely ignore them. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to say that I regret bringing you here, but like,
you don't want it to reflect on you.
Yeah, that's the thing. We're both checking into the same accommodation, even though we have different bookings. I don't actually want to be your mate, you know? But like, now that we're here, I'll indulge. I'll be, you know, I'll be your friend. And then just to have that moment that he would never have had without me, right? He would never have just taken a moment to just be still on a beach, watch the sun go down with a fire, with horses galloping, you know, like, that's why I went back. I keep on going back to that exact place, because like every time I go there, I get that fix.
We're going to have to go there, man.
Oh, dude, I need to take you there. It's like, it's on Sunset Beach. So it faces the sunset directly, and the volcano is right next to it. And the thing is, there's this tree, and the branches are in like a U shape, right? And in between the U branches, that's where you see the volcano. And so it's perfectly framed. And then you got the sunset over here, and then there's horses galloping, bro. Like, I cannot explain how fast they're going on this beach. And then they start this big bonfire, and it's just a perfect, beautiful moment that, like, it could be pissing with rain, and it would still just be the most beautiful moment. And so me and this guy are sitting there, and then he said that to me, and he turned to me, and it was just, I really was like, there is a good person in you. there's a really good person in you, you know, and like then 10 minutes later, then that happens where he just freaks out and is, I don't want to like start labeling people bipolar and this and that. There's just things that need to be worked through. You know, he needs to work through things on his own without actually psilocybin and without, you know, partying for a couple of weeks or months. Or just give it up, bro. You know what I mean? Stop being so distracted, because that was the one thing that I identified was you are just distracting yourself constantly from doing the inner work that at some point you're going to have to sit with and do. And, you know, unfortunately, as I said, with inspiration or desperation, it's going to be a lot harder when you're desperate, because that's when you've hit a low and you have to climb the fuck out, you know. Whereas when you're inspired, generally there's already momentum. You're already heading in the right direction.
You're surfing a wave.
That's it. You're surfing a wave, dude. Like there's a little bit of energy behind you. I'm inspired. Cool. This is going to be difficult, but I'm really driven towards this. Whereas desperation, you don't even know where to start. Don't even know where to start. You have to literally hope and pray that life throws things at you that give you some direction. That was it for me. It was like I could have booked a flight to China that day and you and I would not be sitting in this room. I could have gone back to South Africa. You know, I could have gone back to Portugal with my dog, you know, and then be isolated in the Algarve by myself with no friends, no family. Like, but I was at that moment where just let life throw signals at me and let me go with it, you know. Don't think too much about it.
And you listen to the signal.
Dude, if you were in a really deep hole, okay, and you couldn't see out the top, right? So let's say you're 10 meters deep and you can't see people looking in and you really want to get out and someone throws a rope down, okay? You don't know who threw the rope down. You don't actually know if they're going to let go of that rope while you're climbing up, right? There's actually a lot of liability in climbing up that rope, but you're going to climb that rope because you have no other options. And that was where I was at, where it was like, yeah, Bali, cool. That's the first rope, you know. Then, yeah, someone mentioned an island. You know what? I'm not going to overthink it too much. Yeah, let's go to the island. You know, I'm on the island. Someone said I should do mushrooms. Well, shit. I mean, now I'm a really small person on a small island in a small part of Indonesia, and you know what I mean. That's also a very small part of the world. And I'm about to take mushrooms, and my family doesn't know where I am. I've never been to this place. I don't know what happens when the sun goes down. Go with it. Yeah, cool. You know, that's it. And then having this thought of calling the landlord and just saying, buddy, I'm out. You know, go with it. That's it. Don't overthink things. If something stresses you out, you need to walk away immediately. Whether it's a person, business contract, client, anything. If it causes you stress, walk away from it. That's I think what I started doing.
That's a great rule. If something stresses you out, walk away from it.
It's not worth it. In no way, shape, or form is anything worth stress. Nothing. Like nothing. It stresses me out that I'm obviously not with my mom. I mean, yeah, bro, she's getting a little bit older. I don't get to see her as often. I do worry about her safety. She's in South Africa. It's the worst crime rate in the world. I worry about her. But is it worth me sitting and stressing out about it? You know, like if it stresses you out, go back, you know, but don't carry that negative energy and don't allow anything to influence that. Obviously, if let's say you have a sick parent or you have something that requires you to work over hours, you have to work. It causes you lack of sleep. You've got 2 kids. They're not stopping fucking crying the whole day. You know, like I understand, bro, it's not as easy done as it is said. But we're talking about me here. You know, I put boundaries in place where I was like, okay, this person I'm not going to speak to anymore because their energy is just low. Every time I speak to them, complain about this, complain about that, they're unhappy. Can I live my life the same without that person and actually cultivate new energy by only affiliating myself with people with good energy? Yes, I can. So that's what I started doing, you know.
I love that. I love that you brought up boundaries because it's something that's been a huge lesson for me as well. And I'm curious, does it Is it easy or hard for you to cut people out of your life that you realize you do not resonate with anymore, or that they're draining your energy?
100%. Yeah, it's a very recent way of living, dude. I don't speak to my brother, my sister. As much as I love and I miss my dad, they're a reflection of him. You know, we're short-tempered. You can't have a normal conversation with them without them finding something and attacking it. You know, or you can't give criticism, not even criticism, an opinion, without it coming across as criticism. You know, so that was a big thing for me, was also, wow, you're cutting off like your family here. But blood doesn't mean family. This is something that I realized, like, I've got friends that I love more and that I have more respect for and that have been there for me more than my own brother and my own sister have. You know, so cutting people off is not something that I think anyone should just go and do. I think you should think about that. I think you should try and salvage that relationship as much as you can before you do that, because, like, yeah, once you write someone off, bro, you have to actually do it for good. Not, I'm not going to speak to you for a few weeks or a few years. Or I'm not going to speak to you until you come right. You know, it's like, no, right now, I'm putting myself first. Don't think about other people. Think about yourself. Is this person cultivating the same energy that you want in your life? No? Well, then you just need to accept that they're just another human being on their own journey. And right now, they're operating at a very different frequency to you. And dude, if let's say you have one hole opening in a room and all you're putting in the room is shit, at some point the room's going to start stinking, right? And that's you. You need to make sure that you're only bringing in good people, good energy. And that's not easier done than said. It is easier done. That's the thing. Like, it's so easy to actually say, I'm done with this. I am done with this. I'm done with you. I'm done with this environment. And that thing is not just writing off people, it's places, it's triggers.
Yeah.
Every Friday evening, you go out and you get absolutely shit-faced to impress who? You know, so those are things I had to stop doing as well. Was stop going around to certain places or hanging around a certain crowd, because I then started choosing myself. And now I've probably, and this also extends to my groomsmen at my wedding. 5 of my best mates, just one left. The rest of them still want to party. You're 33, 34, 35, still doing fucking drugs every weekend. You know, there's been no progression whatsoever. So only one of them is still my homie. You know, and we're not looking at like, oh, they were my mates and my groomsmen 10 years ago. I got married 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
This is very recent. And it's not me saying I have a problem with you. I don't have a problem with anyone. I love all of these guys so much. They've been my best friends for 20 years. I've got only love and respect for them. But it's not that they've done anything wrong. It's about me just choosing myself and the habits, the structures, you know, the things that I want in my life. I want those to be conducive towards better mental health, spiritual well-being, you know, emotional well-being, and yeah, physical health. You know, like, if you hang around a room of 5 really unhealthy people, you're going to be the 6th one, you know? So that took a lot to set boundaries, and not even just boundaries with friends and my siblings, but also with someone like my mom. Love my mom, but I see that she does not have a lot of, and this is not me speaking for her, and I don't like throw her under a bus here. But I see my mom now as another human being. I don't see my mom as my mom with motherly duties and roles and responsibilities. I'm 31 now. You don't need to speak to me like son. Speak to me like adult, you know, like adult to adult here. And since I started putting boundaries within my own life, I can now have conversations with my mom about how she can also, let's say, set herself free from stresses that she has at 61 years old. That's not, at 61, you should not be stressing. At 61, you should not be stressing about absolutely anything. You should be enjoying your life. You should be enjoying not the last years, bro. I can tell you, my mom's got an abundant amount of time left, but this is the time where you want to stress less. You want to enjoy life more. You've worked your whole life to get to where you are. So when I see certain things stress my mom out, the first thing I look at is what's the boundary that's been put in place for that, you know? So it's also nice for me to have these conversations with her, adult to adult, because the main cause of stress, unhappiness, poor health, it's lack of setting boundaries. Setting boundaries is actually the one thing that should be taught in school. People are unhealthy and get diseases because of poor health, because they don't set boundaries with their social circle. They don't set boundaries with their family when they're sitting at a table. Guys, you know what? We're not going to be eating this shit from now on. We're actually going to be putting boundaries in place here to be healthier, happier, and we can live longer together.
I see it as raising your standards as well.
This is the thing that I said to myself. Going forward, you are going to have higher standards for yourself.
Yeah.
That's it.
Where in your life currently do you feel like your boundaries are being tested or your standards are being tested by the universe?
My focus. My focus. I'm still struggling with that. It's very easy for me to focus and distraction. That's, I think, that the main area where I know that I have endless opportunity to be as successful as I want, but it's just easier to get on the scooter and go and check out a waterfall. Right? Like, that's the thing. It's like, but then again, I'm very kind with myself on that, that's still the part that you're struggling with. There's still that little egoic part of you that's like, success, money, business, you know, but your heart's calling you to go and look at the waterfall. That's the thing, right? Chill, bro. You've got the rest of your life to reach whatever level of success you want. But in this moment, are you distracted? Or actually, is it just something else that you want to go and do, which is going to make you happier? Right? And so I've come to terms with it, because I don't like labeling myself, bro. I hate when people say, I've got anxiety. It's like, no, you just get anxious feelings from time to time, bro. You haven't been to a doctor. No one fucking labeled you. And even so, it's like there's 1,000 symptoms of depression and anxiety. And, you know, so, you know, when people label themselves something, you start living in that way of living and way of thinking, right?
So true. So true. I was going through a depression a couple of years ago, and the moment I stopped telling that story of I am depressed, or I am depressed because of this, or this and such happened to me, the moment I stopped telling that story, the depression started going away.
Yeah. Dude, it does my head in, bro.
And the events didn't change that led to that. Yeah. The traumas or the disappointments.
For sure.
Same exact situation, different perspective.
That's it, dude. So, you know, I don't label myself as distracted or as OCD, or I just like to be a neat person. That doesn't mean I'm OCD. I just like my shit to be clean, in order. It's a conducive environment to my headspace. You know, when I want to start working, I do like my table to be neatly put together. I'm not going to label myself as OCD. You know, I like the bed to be made because a bed should be fucking made. Do you know what I mean? Like I don't leave things lying around just because that indicates that you're a mess. Simple, you know? So it's the same thing with my diligence and my high standards when it comes to work, that then the second I feel like I'm not meeting a high standard, all of a sudden I'm a distracted person, or I'm not focused, but these are all things that actually I'm just so used to hearing from my fucking teachers back in school. That's it. Damian did really, really well this year. We are so happy to have him in the class, but we must note that he is distracted and that he is this, and it's like, well, that's where you carry that shit from, you know, is actually like other labels that were put on you as a kid, you know, like I could still choose to live in that. I've always been a distracted person, even when I was in school.
Maybe you were a curious person.
Maybe I was curious, or maybe just that learning method just didn't resonate with me to the point where I didn't switch on in your class because I wasn't interested in geometry.
What kid is focused 12 hours nonstop
That's
a
it.
day? You know,
I would love to have seen all my teachers in school, bro. You know what I mean? Like, I can tell you right now, like, who is focused? You know, like, what is focused? Like, just, you know, it's what is lack of that, right? Like, there's just your own standards. It's just your own standards. And I think sometimes when you create this standard, you've created it, right? Like, there's obviously metrics to levels of success, right? So, for example, there's a standard of your quarterly target is 10,000, 20,000. Like, you know, if you don't meet that, then sure, it's a measurable way of saying, well, did you set the standard too high? Did you not work too hard? But it's almost like the second that the levels don't match exactly, you're a failure, or like you're just not diligent, or you're just not. But for me, I've just learned to accept that my 100% is my 100%, and that doesn't actually have like a measurement on it. Like, if I give 100% for 3 hours and then I go on the scooter for an hour to go and check out a waterfall, and then after that I'm driving home and I'm like, oh, you know what, actually I do have things to do when I get home. Like, I need to obviously upload this video, and I need to like edit this, and I need to do client programming. Yeah, but I'm just gonna go and get reflexology first, and then I'm gonna go home. And you know, it's like, then all of a sudden now you've gone and done the waterfall, you've gone and done reflexology. Now you get home, you're like, shit, now I'm really behind. Like, but actually no, you're not. Like, you just chose to do things that actually, what are you working so hard for? You're working hard so you can afford to be in Bali, to have a scooter, to go and look at really beautiful things, to then also go and give back to your body to go and do some reflexology on the way home. As long as you're not disappointing anyone, as long as you're there for your clients when they need you, you're still doing your job, then go easy on yourself if it's not always go, 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 go.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
You know, like, take the time off. I believe that you should work way less than work. Like, I think you should have more chill time and more time to yourself to discover yourself, to enjoy life, to enjoy the nature and the beauty that life has to offer. Then you should be staring at a screen.
Yeah, we live in these screens, and I notice when I look back at my years and months, the memories that stick with me are those random moments of let's go check out the waterfall.
Exactly.
And the hours and hours spent working on the laptop, they blur. They become this one amorphous thing.
Yeah.
It's the spiky moments of, ooh, I did this new thing. I learned this new skill. I went to a class that I've never gone to before. I've went to have a deep conversation with a friend. Those are the memories that stick. And it makes me realize, okay, if that's what my brain is choosing to highlight, there's something to that. Pay attention.
For sure. Yeah. That's, I mean, that kind of summarizes my entire Bali experience, you know, but I'm still going back to your questions, like, what are the things that I'm still, you know, kind of struggling with? It's now coming to Bali and transitioning from that go, go, go mindset to now digital nomad, living in abundance life. And I found that's been the biggest challenge for me, is like, okay, yeah, you can now just wear shorts and slops every day, and you know, you can kind of just go train at an outdoor gym, and you can go and eat really nice food at a like little fitness cafe, you know, outdoors, and you know, like, live a really abundant lifestyle, but to still be a boss and to still be a business owner, I've found to be very challenging. And like, I don't hide that from my clients, I don't hide that from myself. Like, I do really struggle to be a business owner here, because there's that part of me that wants to go and explore all the time and go and do cool things. And then my justification is, well, as long as there's 5G there, I can do my work there, right? But you know, then you stop separating business and freedom. Like, I really do still feel that, like, if you want to be a business owner, you need to actually be very strict and still very diligent with yourself. But now when you're doing that in paradise and you're working from a cafe, and while you're busy working, you're sipping on a coconut, and you know, after that, then you go for a nice little walk on the beach. I've just found it to be a little bit too blurred for me, where I've just struggled to like say, well, this is my business office space, this is my business and office time, you know, and then this is my free time. So I'm working on that. Like, dude, I'm actively working on that, and this is why, for example, I've gone up to Ubud, and you see in the villa that I'm staying in, I've isolated myself away from distractions,
Yeah.
and that works for me. I've had to go through this to now realize that you can be here, but for the 5 days a week, you need to go and isolate yourself in a beautiful place, but a place with no distractions and no easy to go and do things, right? Like, I'm about 25 kilometers out of the city center in Ubud. So, just zipping down the road quickly for a quick little coffee, can't just do that, bro. It's uncomfortable to sit on a bike for an hour and a half a day. So, that's where now I did my shopping, and also haven't cooked in the past 7 months since being here. This is now my first self-catering place. And it was so nice to just go to a supermarket, go buy meat, and go and cook it on a pan and sit there and enjoy it. It really made me just realize this is actually now the next step for you. So you need to kind of isolate yourself a little bit away from the noise to focus on building a brand, but also just reconnect with normal human things like cooking, not eating out all the time. That was a huge thing that I've missed. I love cooking, bro. And like when I made my first piece of steak the other day, I was just like, oh, unreal.
There's something special about eating food that you prepared.
Yeah.
There's an energy to it.
For sure.
And a process to it. I'm so glad you brought up isolation because it's one of the, I call it solitude.
Yeah, it's solitude,
like when you go into this monk mode, or not even monk mode specifically, but just a solitary time to yourself.
Yeah.
And you've pre-decided, I'm not going out.
It gets you high.
I'm not meeting anyone for the next 4 days.
Yeah.
It's just work, or it's just one focus. It's like you're giving yourself permission to immerse yourself in one thing. And I've noticed I enjoy work so much when I can immerse myself in it, when I'm not checking the social media or allowing texts to pull me out of it or invitations. And then I leave the weekend or a specific day. Okay, this is my social time. This is where I get to hang out with everyone and do whatever needs to get done that's outside that context, that container.
So I mean, one of the things that like I didn't understand solitude until I spent loads of time being alone, right? Like I didn't understand the idea of like being lonely and being alone.
Yeah.
Right. And then there was this other concept of solitude. Okay. So like being alone, being lonely, and then there's solitude. And, I spent the past now 2 years just traveling. This is a moment that I had on Gili, actually. This is the exact same night, actually. So I'm speaking to this guy on the beach.
Mm-hmm.
This was this exact same night that I had this moment of realization of what I wanted. And I was speaking to this guy, and we were speaking about my travels, like how I ended up there. And I said to him straight up, I was like, dude, like I just feel alone. Like that's it. Like the reason why I'm here is just like, I don't know, like I just needed to kind of have some time to myself to just really figure it out, because right now, like, I'm just fucking feeling alone. And he looked at me, and he looked at me dead in the eyes, and he was like, you're never alone. And I was like, whoa, bro. Like, you don't even understand, like, how the hairs stood up on my body when he said that, because, like, it was just so powerful. He's like, you're never alone. Never alone. And, like, to this day, I just, like, you know what he means by it, but you still haven't.
Did he mean that in a spiritual sense?
Definitely in a spiritual sense, but also you're never alone. Like here, me and this guy we're sitting there speaking to each other. We had only met each other half an hour before, and we're having a conversation. You're never alone. If you are feeling alone, you can start speaking to a complete stranger.
But then sometimes people feel lonely in the most populated places. They're surrounded by people.
But this is it, right? Like this was me. Is that like, I'm in the gym. I've got gym friends there. I've got my clients, all 70 of them that, I speak to on a daily and weekly basis. Like I call my mom. I speak to my friends on the phone. Like, I sit in coffee shops all the time. Like I'm never without people. But I was so alone. Like I really was just like, and also I think the craziest thing was for the first few years of my career, competing, people standing up, clapping, like getting that validation, being an athlete for supplement brands, and, like all of this, which really hypes me up. I never wanted to ever accept the fact that I could feel alone. Like I've always had so much attention. Like there've been people that have kissed my ass for years, or like people that have always stayed in my corner. There's always been people. And so I always felt that, but I never wanted to accept that I could be someone that, despite being around so many people, that like I was still alone. Like I was still deeply unhappy. You don't even want to say that. You don't even want to accept that. You never even want to accept that, like, there's a chance that you could be fucking depressed, or that you could be inherently unhappy with who you are no matter what you do. Here's me looking for validation through competing and bodybuilding shows and doing an Ironman and doing an ultra marathon, double marathon, like donating to charity, going and doing this. Like there's all these things that I had achieved or done with good intention that, you then, once you've done all of it, you're like, well, was that all running away from something? Was that running towards all of those things? Like, were you running through all of that because you were highly passionate and driven to actually do it? I hate running, dude. There's not one part of me that enjoys running. Not one part. Dude. I don't enjoy the first kilometer. I don't enjoy the last kilometer, right? And when I said this to my coach, he was like, well, then it's clear you're running away from something, because the people that run towards, they enjoy it, and here's me that's doing it but not enjoying it. Doing it to prove that I can do it doesn't mean that I'm doing it because I enjoy it. It's doing it to prove that I can do it. But why am I seeking to prove anything? What am I running away from? Or what's the root cause of me trying to prove things to other people?
And was it the loneliness? Did you figure out what that thing was?
It was just to not be alone. Like, that's the thing. It's just to not, even though the running is a very lonely thing, the bodybuilding is a lonely thing, the Ironman is a lonely thing. Like, all of these things that I was doing was alone. They weren't team sports. They weren't, I wasn't a team player from the days when I used to even play squash, but these were all just distractions for me, not sitting down and just being like, dude, what is going on? And in that moment when I came to Bali, I was just like, now's the time and the space for you to sit with that and figure it out.
Yeah.
And then I did breath work.
Yes. Let's talk about that, because you had a very powerful first breathwork experience in Bali.
It was one of the craziest things dude, I still do it, so it's one of the continuously best things that I've ever brought into my life, because the old me would have laughed. I would honestly, like, dude, a Saturday night, I'm sitting there in my apartment with my angel cards on the bed. What the fuck has happened? Like, if you had said to me a year ago, Damian, in a year you're going to be on Bali, Saturday evening you're going to have all your angel cards spread out in the bed, having just come from a breathwork class, you're wearing white linen pants, okay, bro, like, and your eyes are closed, and right now you're just waving your hand over these cards, waiting for one energy to pop out at you, and then you're going to sit there and you're going to read the description of these cards, and you are then going to go to sleep that evening with the snow globe having been shaken, and you're going to be asking yourself all these philosophical questions, right? What is the meaning of this? And anyway, so it's just funny how things have changed. But breathwork for me was something that I never would have done. And so I was on Bali for a week. It was the first time I came. It was the holiday, or like the getaway from Dubai. And
first chapter of the new quest.
That's it. So I was here for now a week. And I met up with a friend of mine from Dubai. She came here on holiday that week as well. So we went out for lunch, and like we were just speaking, and she's like, dude, I'm actually not listening to you, because like you're just not there. You're not present. Like,
What a great friend
Yeah.
to speak truth like that.
yeah. Dude, I've got so much love for her, bro. She's really a really special friend. And she was just like, dude, you need to just go do some breath work. And like, you need to actually just sit with this now for a bit. Like, you know, here for you, but you're a bit lost, you know. And she was there seeing how I was living in Dubai. She obviously, like, you know, we would go for coffee there, and I'd say to her, like, I don't know if I should go back to SA. I don't know if I should stay here. Things are good, but it's not my favorite, you know. And she's like, well, bro, things are looking a little bit like up in the air at the moment. You need to just ground yourself. So then we meet up in Bali. She says, I know this really great person that I did breath work with the other day. You should meet her. So that's where I then found myself walking into a yoga shala on a Saturday evening. And I went and walked in there, and there was 15 chicks and like 2 dudes. And I'm like, oh, you are so out your depth right now. Like, this is so not you, bro. Like, you know, everyone is just looking so zen, and I'm just so shaken up. Like, I'm just lost. You know what I mean? Like I literally, even when I walked in there, I was like, I think I'm lost. This is not the right place. But you know what? Then especially when it's so far off from the way I've been living, sitting there and like, these are not things that any of my friends do. It's nothing that my family do. I don't know anyone in Cape Town or where I'm from, Amsterdam, Portugal, Dubai. No one does this shit. So I'm feeling like I'm in the wrong place right now. You know, that's how I would have perceived it, at least. You know, it was like, oof, this is a bit too hippie, right? Everyone inverted commas hippies it, you know, they've lost it, you know. But no, they're finding it, right? They found it. This is what I needed to reshape how I thought. Was everyone says, oh, well, they're dancing around the sun, the moon, the stars. They've lost their minds, right? But I don't know. It looks like the sun, the moon, and the stars are like the elements of fucking life. And dancing around a fire, you're dancing, you're having a good time. There's fire. That's a beautiful thing. It's life, you know? Like, if
you're really tuning in, you're tuning into the frequency.
This is it, right? And I would have always been like, oh, this is a bit too hippie for me. So I never went down that route. This is why I never did any of the emotional, spiritual heavy lifting. It's easier to just go to the gym. So I walk into this place, and, you know, Ella and Iggy, they are such incredible people. They're a couple. And just that was it, bro. Yeah, I don't even know how to put it into words, you know. Like, it was such a unique experience that...
What were your expectations going into it?
This is fucking ridiculous, and like, I'm going to struggle to disconnect. That's it, right? It's like, I'm going to be too stuck in my own head for this to work. And this was the craziest shit. It was on my way there on the scooter. I said to myself, what are you doing this for? Like, what is the thing that you want to walk out of here optimistically? What do you want to actually get from this? And the first thing that came up was acceptance. I said to myself, I just want to accept myself, accept that, like, life doesn't work out the way that, you know, you want it to all the time. Accept love from other people, stop pushing back, you know, accept the faults in other people and start accepting them. But like, the word acceptance was just kind of like the general, this is what I want to walk out there with some peace of mind on. Another word for acceptance is surrender.
I love that. Yeah.
Right? Which conveniently is tattooed on my leg, right? So I walk in, and now there's angel cards, oracle cards, okay, so before you sit down, just come and get an oracle card. You can read on that after the class, or you can read on it now. And I pick up the card, acceptance. And I'm like, fuck off. No ways. So now I'm like, okay, well, that's purely coincidental, right? Here's the egoic part of me still saying that's purely coincidental. But I bought into it. I was like, you know what, actually, okay, maybe I should just drop it a bit, drop the guard, and just go with this. So, you know, Iggy explains how we're going to do the breath work, and says it's going to be about 30 minutes of like heavy breathing, and then we're going to integrate that into a softer breathe. And, you know, that's kind of like proverbially taking the pill for like the 30 minutes, 40 minutes. And then that integration period, that other 15 minutes afterwards, is when the pill fucking kicks in, you know. It's where then visions, messages, downloads, you know, come to you. So for, you know, the 30 minutes of that really heavy breathing, I was experiencing my body vibrate. I was experiencing my body spasm. I was like, whoa, this is a really, really strange feeling. And then things come to you, and, you know, you can either sit with it, but at some point you need to return to your breath. And also when things come to you, don't hold on to attaching a meaning to that. Cool, that came to me, great, let's let go of it, let's keep breathing, you know, let's keep going deeper. And about a week before that, the girl that I was telling you about now, my friend, after that lunch, we went to and I'm going to come back to the breath work, but, you know, that evening we went to a talk by Martin O'Toole, who's the author of How to Die Happy. And this was a reading of his book, How to Die Happy. If you had to say to me, what are the top 5 books? This is going to be one of them that I've read. And it's not about literally how to die happy. It's actually just about acceptance, gratitude, living in the moment. And one of the things that he got us to do that evening was write our what is it when you, I've just lost the word. It's when you die and someone's reading out your euphemism, you know, eulogy. There we go. Sorry. So he got us to write out our eulogy, right? Euphemism. Lol. No, so, you know, I wrote out this eulogy, and I've got it in my bag. Yeah.
Let's read it.
Should we read it?
Yes.
Yeah, let's get it out.
Let's do it.
Yeah. We're about to go deep, man. Okay, so give me a hot moment to find it. But basically, I wrote this eulogy, and I'll relate how this kind of comes back to, you know, the breath work. Write your own eulogy. Here we go.
Here we go.
Now this is going to obviously put a lot into perspective of a lot of what we've spoken about up until this point. And, you know, the reason why I journal is because these are things that I don't want to say to somebody else. I don't want to speak about these things. Like journaling, I think, is one of the most personal things that you can do.
Which is why you're reading it out loud to us.
Yeah, because the thing is, like, this is something that, you know, your own eulogy is how you want other people to remember you, right? So I hope that anyone listening to this remembers me like this, you know, because, yeah, it's very reflective of who I think I am. So, okay, here we go. And then I'm going to relate how this came about in the breathwork. Damian was a good person, imperfect in many ways. He always had good intentions and a good nature and heart. Behind closed doors, he struggled to be happy. He never found the peace he was looking for, no matter what country he was in. A testament to Damian's character, he never felt the need to hide who he really was. An open book who sometimes never knew when to shut up, which is one of the things you could always appreciate about him, was that he would always articulate how he truly felt, just like his father. Damian had a hard shell, a privileged life, and upbringing didn't stop or mask any of the abuse or trauma he endured during his childhood. Damaged goods or not, he always tried to prove that despite all the negativity experienced, he could still respect others and be a mensch. Damian lived a life of the fullest. He always tried to see the light at the end of the tunnel, and if he couldn't, then at least he knew how to start a fire and stay put. Damian will be remembered for more than just health and fitness, but also the impact he made in other people's lives, personally and professionally. Damian knew how to get the best out of others and make them feel loved, appreciated, and valued. Sometimes he spoke more than he listened, but never took away from his good intentions. Damian always looked forward to and equally feared the day this would be read out to others, not because of the message or the words, but because, just like most funerals, it would be a day to bring people together, which Damian loved to do. But a sad day because everyone he loves but himself would be there. Yeah, deep. Yeah, a sad day, there's no doubt about it. The world lost someone who appreciated every breath and moment that was given to him. So, that's my eulogy. So if I do ever die, then you can literally just write that out, and because I can tell you, I'm taking this to the fucking grave, dude. You know what I mean? This journal ain't gonna see the light of day. And so now I'm at this breath work, and now we've just done the breath work. And was that quite deep, by the way? Was that like quite a deep?
Yes, I love it.
Okay, yeah. So the first time I read it out, you know what I mean? Like no one else has had the privilege
Well, thank you for sharing that with us.
of ever even looking in that journal. So now we've just done this breath. We're integrating now. Got like a good 15 minutes of just letting it sink in, you know, going back to normal breath, but now like letting the penny drop, letting the pill kind of open up, and just, you know, the breath, the lungs are the body's natural toolkit, right? And it's incredible what it can do, what can happen just off breath and oxygen. You know,
from what I read, it's like a mini DMT trip.
Dude, 100%. And
then the downloads start coming through.
So this was the thing, is that all of a sudden I see my mom, and my mom is just dressed in white with her blonde hair. There's this white light around her. She's an absolute fucking angel. My mom is still alive. But just to see her there, the most perfect thing I've ever seen. And then there's my dad that comes next to her. And then my best friends, my other best friends. Like now I've got everyone lined up in front of me, and they're all looking down at me smiling. And I realized that there was a disconnect, that you're in a different dimension here. Like but I'm seeing all of you, but I can't speak. I can't, you know. And then what I've actually kind of like realized from that was, you're at your own fucking funeral. Holy shit. Everyone's there but you. Everyone that you love is in the same room. You brought them all together, but you ain't there. And like, I just remember getting home that evening and just calling every single one of them and just being like, fuck, I love you. You know, like it was such a powerful thing for me I had never experienced anything like, bro, I've taken mushrooms for like 15 years. You know what I mean? Like I had a moment like that. I'd never had a moment like that where I was just like, whoa, you've just experienced what it's going to be like when you're dead. Holy shit. You've just experienced all the love that people have for you.
Wow.
You've just felt that. Like I felt that so much. It was the first time that like my body had ever heated up from love. Like, whoa, all the people that are so important and dear to you will all be there one day. And that's going to really fucking suck that you're not there. But you've just experienced that right now. And like, you just give that love back to them. Just be there for them. This is also why like a huge part of me always wants to consider going back to South Africa, because my mom's there. She's my queen. You know what I mean? She's my everything. So, you know, it's like pretty powerful to go through an experience like that. And for you to walk away from it and not integrate that into your life. How can you not integrate? Like, I immediately got home and journal. Dude, I journal 3 pages a day. That's it. I just do 3 pages a day. You know, nothing too much, nothing too little.
Stream of consciousness, anything that comes to mind?
Anything that comes to mind. I don't think about what I'm going to write. I need to get this out. Today was a really funny day, and let me tell you why. And then, you know what, like then it just flows, you know. A lot of what I write though, and I think this was my last journal entry like 2 days ago, where normally you write the negatives. You write the things you're unhappy with. You write the problems that you're encountering.
The challenges.
The addictions, you know, and all these promises to yourself to change this. And, you know, I'm going to be more mindful. And like, this is not working, but this is why it's not working. And this is what I want to do, but I'm just struggling to do it. You know, like that's what I realized this journal has been. This journal has seen really just shitty times of last year, really difficult fucking moments. And my last journal entry was, from now I'm either not going to write or I'm going to write something positive, because you don't want this to be the book of negative things about Damian, the things that he struggled with. that's not a nice book to read. Like you want to turn the page and read a good chapter.
Try a gratitude journal
Yeah.
where every day you write down 5 things minimum that you're grateful for.
I did that for a whole year. And then I couldn't get the journal delivered to Portugal.
Okay.
It's called Mind Journal. If you've ever heard of Mind Journal. And it's a gratitude journal, but also every day is a different prompt. So what does money mean to you? What does being a man mean to you? What is your immediate circle looking like at the moment in terms of family, friends? What are your list of priorities? Write them down on a pie chart. So you've got the gratitude journal of like, what are the 5 things you're grateful for today? There's about 50 different emotions that you can then tick off how you're feeling on the day. What is your happy hour? And then, so that's the generic page. And then after that, then there's a prompt about something. I did gratitude journaling for the whole of 2021. That really was also, huge for me. And then I couldn't get it delivered. So then I bought this one, which allowed me to be a lot more intuitive and not need to be prompted, which I really liked, because like sometimes there's something on my mind, but now I have to journal about money. You know what I mean? It's like, it's also not what I want to talk about right now. I want to get my feelings out. So I do like this style, but I've stopped showing as much gratitude because I'm not being prompted to actually write it down. So I'll definitely get on that. Thanks for reminding me, dude.
I love this idea, and I do the same thing. I call it morning pages. And I think I took it from the author who wrote The Artist Way.
Okay.
So her technique is for artists to get into a creative flow, you wake up and I think it's 3 pages or maybe 5 pages minimum of just stream of consciousness first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
And the way I...
Like a brain dump.
Almost. Like a brain dump.
Yeah.
And so the way I imported it into my own technique is whenever I'm going through a challenging moment, I just need to get my thoughts out on paper. That's my morning pages. It usually doesn't even happen in the morning. It's like any time of the day, but I call it morning pages as a way to signify like this is stream of consciousness. So I know the power of that.
Sure.
Once it's on paper, you feel lighter.
Yeah.
You feel, and you can also look back on it and really understand the situation. Because when it's in your mind, you loop things, you it's a circular
You break
thinking.
it down, you analyze it, and you start assuming things. Like that's the dangerous part about not getting it out.
Yeah.
I wish all my friends and family could journal. I wish my family could journal. I wish my mom could, take the time to do that for herself. Like I wish my brother could do that, but we're just so distracted. It's just so much easier to scroll on Instagram than it is to sit with a pen and paper and write about your feelings. I think it's also in the male area, guys don't want to do that. We're too busy, or we're too focused, or we're too hard. Fucking be a softie and just write down your feelings, mate. You know what I mean? Like no one's going to judge you. No one has to see it.
Yeah.
I will kill someone for this, dude. I swear to God, dude. Bro, I swear, if someone broke into my house and they like stole my laptop, they stole my this, and they're like, okay, listen, what do you want back? I'll be like, just my journal, dude. Like, just don't read it, bro. Like, that's the only thing. You know what I mean? Like, give me back the wallet. Take the cash, but just give me back my wallet. It's the same thing with like my journal, bro. It's like, this holds weight. It's insane how this is now finished. This is like a couple pages from the back here, but it holds so much more weight since I've written in it, right? Like when I picked this up, I'm like, oh, this isn't as light as it was the day that I'd got it.
Yeah.
Right?
The memories.
But how much ink, it's not like I've added half a kilo of ink into this, right? The volume is still the same. The height is still the same. The width is still the same. The length is still the same. There's a little bit of ink in there, but this feels heavier. So when I pick it up, I'm like, wow, there's been some real dumping going on in here. There's been some serious, some serious mental weight in this. So
conversely, it's lightened you up.
It's lightened me up. I can move.
You're not carrying that weight every day.
No, exactly, dude. So journaling is something that, once again, I was too egotistical to have ever sat with myself and just got the feelings out. One of my older mentors, Kieran O'Neill from TMP, Total Mental Performance. He was someone that was really helpful in the moment where me and my ex split up. So she left Portugal and I started working with him that day. And, here, after a marriage has not worked out, you think, fuck, I've done a terrible job at being a husband. I've done a bad job at being a partner. This didn't work out because I'm 50% of the problem and the reason. And, he explained to me, like, you're a blank canvas right now, actually. And how great is that? That you have the opportunity to now make the life that you want to live again without having someone that you need to answer to or consider, or yeah, sure, it sucks, but right now you have a blank canvas. And so what we're going to do is, with this blank canvas, we're going to start with future authoring, self-authoring and future authoring. So this is something that was put together by Jordan Peterson, actually. And it's a very extensive, and I don't say very extensive by like mild means, bro. This is a very like massive audit on who you are, what are the things that are going on in your life at the moment, what are the goals that you want to achieve, going after each of these goals, who is that going to affect, how's it going to affect them, what are the things that you need to let go of, what are the things you need to do, but how are you going to let go of things, how are you going to do things, to dissect every area of your life like that. It took me a good month of writing every day. There was well into about 100,000, maybe 150,000 words.
It's like a whole book.
Dude, it's a whole book. It's a whole book.
So self-authoring versus future authoring. I guess I can kind of guess what the difference is, but can you explain?
Yeah, so future authoring is more goal-oriented, what you want to achieve, how that's going to affect people, how it's going to affect you, what are the circumstances you need to create for yourself to achieve these goals, who do you need to let go of, whereas the self-authoring is dissecting who you are.
Right here, right now.
Right here, right now. What is not working? What has not worked? What do you want essentially in the now to achieve? And how are you going to do that? So this is not like future goal oriented. This is more like clean up your fucking room. Clean up the room before you go play outside and work on those other goals. Right? So yeah, the self-authoring I think is more current. Future authoring obviously is then once you've done the self-authoring, great, move into future authoring.
So it took you a month, 100,000 words.
Yeah.
What did you learn about yourself through that process?
That I can sit down and firstly focus. That was a huge one for me. It was like completing it.
Yeah.
Because you can't go on to the next question without writing 2,000 words, 3,000 words. You can't go to the next page. It's a web version. So you actually can't go to the next step without writing exactly how much they've asked you to write. So to sit with yourself and meet these like little micro targets of words of even at 1,000 words, for example, you feel like you're done. Cool, I've said everything. But no, you can't go to the next page without writing more. So now you need to dissect what you've wrote. You need to elaborate on what you've written. You need to say what you mean. Like when you say this is what I want to achieve, cool, but like what do you want to achieve and more? So yeah, I had to meet targets almost, which I think sometimes in business it's very easy for you to keep pushing a target because you're going at your own pace, right? Which then if you actually went at a slightly faster pace, you would actually get there a little bit sooner. So for me, having targets that were outside of my work or business related things that I had to work towards, I was like, whoa, okay, you're a target driven person. Like you actually can do some things that even if I didn't enjoy doing it, I didn't enjoy writing, bro. I've got like fucking arthritis in my right hand. I feel like every time I write, my hand gets sore after like 2 minutes. So for me to spend that amount of time also actually typing was also something that I would have given up on like so earlier on in the game. But as I mentioned earlier, inspiration, desperation, something needed to change. And this already started in Portugal. But that change was, fuck, I've just lost my partner. I'm clearly now in limbo with where my life is at. So that change was geared up towards actually gaining more momentum, going to Dubai and supercharging the business. So, same method, different direction that I was going in. But the self-authoring and future authoring is something that now every year I rewrite in December. So the one that I was telling you about now, I did that in 2021. And now when I was in South Africa, I wrote 2022s. The nice thing about it is that you can refer back to what you wrote a year ago. The 1-year target. Did I reach that? The people that I said I was going to cut out, did I do that? The habits that I said I was going to develop, have I done anything about that yet? Or you can also look and say, damn, I'm you know what? I'm actually on year 2's targets.
Nice.
I'm on year 2's targets, or I'm on year 3's targets, because I really took charge. These were the things I said I was going to do, and I did them. Because it's so easy to have so much self-doubt or so much self-criticism for, even though you did something, you didn't take as many steps forward as you hoped you would, right? And then because we didn't take 10 steps when we only took 8, fuck, I'm a failure. I didn't do what I said I was going to do.
But looking back at your wins and actually
looking back at the
noticing that.
You got an A+, bro. You got an A+ for doing what you said you were going to do. And not with like anything other than intention. Just intention to be a good person, intention to set boundaries with people that don't make you happy. Stay away from the things that don't fill your cup. Tell someone to stop talking if you're not actually enjoying that conversation, and leave. This is what I did now with some of my best mates, my best friends, the guys that are my homies, like blood, you know what I mean? I had to stop them and just say, dude, every time I speak to you, it's always negative.
What was their reaction?
Yeah, but Damien, it's so much easier for you to say. How's it easier for me? I'm not with my family either. I'm not. I can sit here and I can list 1,000 things right now that I'm unhappy with, but I'm choosing not to. And it's not because I don't want to complain. That's not conducive to anyone around me's happiness. I'm also being considerate to other people. At the same time, I'm also not shoving things in the back. I'm working through them. That thing is, I don't mind if someone complains about something. I don't mind if there's negative shit going on in your life. I will be there as a soundboard, as your friend, as person that, you know, will literally shut up and listen to you for as long as you need someone to listen. But if you're doing nothing about that, you're not taking any action, you're not seeing the other side of the coin, it's negative, but what else is good in your life? What are you grateful for? If you can't even see the good in some way, shape, or form in your life, or take action in some way, shape, or form, that's fine. Bro, that's your life. But then I just don't want to be a part of that. I don't want to be the soundboard if at the same time now you're just shifting negativity towards me and you're not doing anything about it. If you're doing something about it, then bro, I'm happy to be there as a support structure while you work towards something. But if you're not, then how's it every time I speak to you? Oh, dude, I'm so hungover. Or, oh, bro, this one is still, you know, giving me issues. My ex-girlfriend or my, you know, like.
You know what I think it also is it's easier to talk about the negative, because if you want to talk about your dreams and your goals, you actually have to become a little more vulnerable.
100%.
You have to accept that, oh, I'm not where I want to be.
Yeah.
These are my dreams. And that takes a little more courage than just saying, this thing sucks.
Yeah.
It's easy to complain. It's the easiest form of conversation.
There's no hard work in it. That's the thing. When you're complaining, it's like it takes 0 effort, but it takes a lot of energy.
Exactly. And when you say to someone, I want to change my life and this is what I'm going to do, and now your friend is holding you accountable, even just by the pure fact of sharing that with them.
Yeah. Now, but this is why, you know, a few friends don't want to talk to me. Because
they know you're going to call them out.
Because they know I'll call them out. You know, like I had a pretty big argument with like one of my best friends when I was down in Cape Town. Just because I called him out in his shit. Dude, you're not the same person that I used to like admire and respect. You're drinking all the time. You're taking drugs to fucking have a sleep in the afternoon. What's wrong with you? Who takes fucking, what are these? Xanax? Xanax? I've never taken a sleeping pill in my life, dude. So like, you know, but what are you doing at fucking 11 o'clock in the morning taking a Xanax to have an afternoon nap? Because you need rest. Bro, you need to stop fucking going out all the time. You need to start eating healthy. Drink water. Move. You don't need to take a fucking Xanax at 11 o'clock in the morning. What, do you think you're going to wake up with more energy? Is that it? You're not going to wake up more tired. So what the fuck, dude? So, I like, this is because it doesn't align with my values, my beliefs. And, there will be people that say, yeah, but Damien, not everyone's like you. Not everyone's going to go to the gym 6 days a week. That's not the shit that I'm on right now. Like, that's not what I mean when I talk about values, beliefs, aligning with the right kinds of people. I align with you and we live completely different lifestyles, bro. So it's not about aligning with a gym bro. It's not aligning with someone that is a fitness coach, but it's about aligning with people that have their mental well-being, their physical health, their emotional well-being as a sense of things that they want to work towards, right? Do you need to have it perfect? No. But do you need to be driven towards wanting more for yourself? Yes. Does that need to be at 100 k's an hour? No. Does it need to be at 10 k's an hour? No. Like, but you need to be working in that direction for me to want you in my life. That's the thing. I won't discriminate against anybody if they don't go to the gym, if they're not healthy. I don't have a problem. That's your life. That's your shit, bro. Like, then you must just deal with the consequences later on of the decisions that you're making now. But if I can choose who I want in my life, it's going to be those people that want more for themselves in some way, shape, or form, and are willing to even just do 1% more about it.
Yeah, beautifully said.
That's it.
I love how this whole podcast, we've had a theme of connecting with that inner part of ourselves, whether it's through journaling or breath work or a psilocybin trip.
Yeah.
It's like all roads lead to Rome. It's what path do you want to choose to connect deeper with yourself? It could be the future authoring, could be the self-authoring.
Yeah.
And I encourage anyone listening to find something in 2024 that does that for you. Could be meditation, could be regular breath work, could be walks outside.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get the best ideas when you just allow yourself an hour.
Small steps, bro.
Small steps.
Small steps. It doesn't need to be, as I said, like a full marathon.
Mm-hmm.
This is what I didn't realize.
In fact, it can't in the beginning. That's
it can't. But that's what I did, was like, okay, well, I can't be alone, so I need to go run a marathon. I can't be sitting at home alone after my wife just left. I need to go and do an Ironman. I need to go and, so I took the most aggressive route and bypassed all the other really important steps that I should have taken. I bypassed the breath work, the yoga, the meditation, the journaling, the, reaching out and asking for help and speaking to people, and all these little things that actually could have gotten me to where I wanted to be so much easier. Not easier, there would have still been a lot of hard work, but I wouldn't have, let's say, jumped all of that, gone straight into an Ironman marathon, only then to realize, nah, back of the fucking line, bro, you need to start again. And it's going to come, and now you're going to have to learn the hard way. You're going to find yourself alone on a beach in Dubai, feeling very hopeless, very fucking unfulfilled. And that's exactly how you're feeling right now in this moment when your wife has just left. So it's like, I had to go back to how I felt in the beginning again, but choose the route of growth and working towards instead of running from. Because the first time that it happened, 2022, I was running from that situation, Well, she left. Well, I'm going to prove to her why she's missing out, right? So I'm going to supercharge the business, go to Dubai. I'm going to be the ultimate athlete, and I'm going to do all of these incredible things and make her realize what she lost. Bro, you're losing yourself doing that. No one else. Dude.
Find your center.
That's it, bro. You're just proving her right. You're just proving her right by going and doing all of these things, that you're just not connected and you're not grounded. You're just proving her right,
And the theme I notice also is coming to a place of listening to what life is asking of you.
Yeah.
And you've done that multiple times through your journey. I've done that through mushrooms, through breath work as well, through meditation.
Yeah.
Whatever process allows you to listen closely to the symbols and the messages that life, your inner spirit, your higher self is trying to communicate.
Yeah.
because it often comes in whispers. And it takes that moment to stop intentionally and just listen.
Yeah. And I'd never done that until someone kind of proverbially throws you in a chair and says, "Now you must sit down and knock it up and deal with this," you know. And yeah, dude, it's always been good, regardless. You know, I wasn't in the fiery gates of hell. You know, I wasn't in this deep, dark. Yeah, life sucked. Yeah, it was not nice. But even in those moments, still just show a bit of gratitude for the fact that you work online. You're not stuck in an office. As monotonous, mundane, and repetitive and boring it sometimes gets, your eyes get sore, your back gets a little bit sore. Bro, you still got to show a little bit of gratitude here. And I think that's also the mark that a lot of people completely miss. You just, dude, it costs you nothing to show gratitude. It costs you nothing at all to literally just be like, holy fuck, I can stick my arm over my head. I can scratch my hair, my head. I can move my feet, my legs. Holy fuck, that's epic. You know, and I think that's one thing that would change the game completely if people were just a little bit more aware of what to be grateful for. Because that's also been a massive thing for me, bro. Like every day I'm like, whoa, I am so lucky to be alive.
I feel it, man. I think that's the energy I was feeling when I first met you. I'm like,
I'm so grateful.
Yeah.
And it's not like this hippie gratitude,
jumping off the walls,
airy fairy bullshit. It's just a normal human emotion that you're allowed to feel. But most people are so closed off that, like, the second they start to feel a raw human emotion, they're like, nope, I'm not going to deal with that one. You know, it's like, bro, do you know how, like, when I see friends of mine, how they interact with their parents, for example, tell your mom you fucking love her, bro. What's wrong with you?
Yeah.
What's wrong with you?
Yeah.
You know, like, I don't get it how people are closed off to positive emotions.
I think people's hearts have been closed through trauma or through fear, and life is constantly trying to see how can we open your heart again.
I've opened up that Pandora's box of gratitude, but I'm just like, you know what, now every time you see someone, just compliment them, make them feel good.
You do that.
You know?
You do that every time I see you.
Yeah, dude, just, you know, like, it costs you nothing. And the energy that you get back from just doing that.
Exactly.
Dude, tenfold.
Exactly.
You know? It creates this shield around you almost. Of
this
like,
virtuous circle of goodness.
It's great.
I remember in Wallace Wattles' book, The Science of Getting Rich, which is actually a much more spiritual book than it sounds. He talks about every time you feel gratitude and you express it to the divine in your mind or out loud, it cannot fail but to come back to you.
Yeah.
Because cause and effect. If you put out gratitude, it cannot fail but to come back to you.
Yeah.
And I always remember that.
That's it, dude. It's you know, there's so many things that I feel like we could actually just like keep going on about. You know what I mean? Like, bro, like, you know, this is an ever evolving journey for me, and I'm still learning every day, bro. Like, I'm now learning about the idea of synchronicities, right? Like something that I've always been like, oh no, that's a coincidence. There's not coincidences, and then there's synchronicities, right? Where like things happen maybe by coincidence, or things were meant to happen because of chance. This situation was meant to play out, because if it didn't play out, you wouldn't be there. And then that wouldn't have happened, which wouldn't have led you to this person.
Yeah.
And at the same time, it was 11/11.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, or, you know, so I'm now learning about this where 2 months ago, I went to a cafe in Ubud, and I'm sitting there, I'm journaling, and this lady kept on looking back at me. So I was like, sorry, do we know each other? And she's like, I don't know. I was like, where are you from? She's like, I'm from Australia. I was like, well, no, then we definitely don't know each other. But we spoke for 2 hours, and it just flowed. It just fucking flowed, bro. Like everything about this conversation, our circumstances. She had just recently gotten divorced. I just recently separated from my partner. We both came to Bali to just give ourselves a new lease on life and open a new chapter. And like everything just aligned, bro. Our story, like we just bounced off each other. And then I said to her, actually, you know what? I did something for my birthday last week. She was like, when's your birthday? I was like, September 11th. And she's like, bro, the look in her face, I was like, there's no ways. She's like, my birthday is on September 11th. So then I spoke to my mom about this. I spoke to a few friends, and the idea of a twin flame, right? I'd never actually I'd maybe heard of these twin flames and this and that, but, you know, as a guy, you know, I never thought much of it, you know, as maybe this dude that had never addressed understanding issues like things like this, you know, twin flames and other energies that you've known in past lives. And I'd never taken any of that too seriously or looked into it. But, you know, when someone rationalized it to me and they're like, well, bro, there was a lot of synchronicities there between you two. Maybe this was actually someone that you've met in a past life. I'm like, maybe there was a past life, you know, like crazy. Then last night, we're busy having a fire where I'm staying. And the owner of the villa, the moment me and him met each other, dude, he is a homie of mine. Like, I got love for the guy. Like, we've just met and we can laugh immediately, or we can say something, or we can have an honest, cool conversation. So last night, he's busy saying, oh, well, my lucky number is 11. And also, I've completely didn't realize that yesterday was the 11th, right? So this conversation came up. And
it was the new moon.
And it was a new moon. So it was the 11th. His favorite number is 11. The house number of the road is 11, right? His, like, everything in his life, like, always synchronizes to 11. And funny enough, earlier yesterday, I drove past a cafe called 1111. Okay. And so I said to him, look, my birthday is on the 11th. And he's like, 11th of what? I was like, September. No ways, dude. No ways do we share the same birthday as well. Okay. It seemed way too nuts.
Yeah.
For it to be by chance or for it to be just purely coincidental.
I don't believe in coincidences.
I don't believe
anymore.
in coincidence, dude.
I think every single event and thing has a pattern to it if we only look far enough.
And he said to me, because obviously he went into the room while I wasn't there to go and do something. Like, he asked me if he could go in. So I was like, yeah, whatever. But when he went in, I've obviously set up my entire office, right, in this cabin. And he looked at it and he was like, oh, this guy must be a Virgo. Right? Because of how I'm just so diligent with my working space being clean. And he looked and he was like, oh, this guy must be a Virgo. So, you know, we were having such a laugh about this last night because it was just like, it can't be chance. There's way too many synchronicities here to like just completely write it off by just saying, oh, coincidence.
I see it as little winks from the universe.
And
telling
both
you
of
you're
these
on track.
situations happen in a boot. That's the thing.
Yeah. Well, it's the energy, man.
It is, dude.
You're getting activated.
But then we spoke to there was a Balinese guy that was sitting with us last night. And I'm the guy who's going to be like, listen, dude, are all of us white people just fucking nuts? Okay. Because like here we are like, new moon, synchronicities.
No, but they have ceremonies around all of that as
exactly well. Right. And I was like, do we just come off as a little bit lunatic? You know what I mean? Like, where all of these bullets are coming now into Bali and we're all like preaching the gospel of like synchronization and, you know, like, oh, that didn't happen by chance. It's the frequencies. And I'm like, are we coming across as a little bit fucking crazy to you, bro? Because I'm totally into it. That's the thing. Like, I'm buying into it. But, you know, it seems like when people arrive in Bali, then this happens, right? So from a local's perspective, how do you guys see that, right? Like, let's say you went to go buy a cucumber and you met someone who was also buying a cucumber. And then you both got to the till and you were both paying and you both had, let's say, the same amount of money that was owed at the till. And then you started speaking and then you both have the same birthdays. What would you, as a local Balinese Hindu or Muslim or, you know, like, what would you attribute that as? Would you say, well, that's coincidental? Or would you say, synchronization, you know, like, would you like look at all the sun, the moon, and stars for that? Or would you just write it off as, okay, well, they got the same birthday, whatever. It's just, yeah, it's whatever, like, because this is where, when we had this conversation last night, I was like, yeah, it seems like all the white people at this like little bonfire are the ones that are experiencing this, and this dude's just sitting here listening to us, like, just not getting it.
So what did he say?
Well, he was just like, well, yeah, there's obviously, the power of synchronization is very strong, but for Balinese, it's just very normal. Whereas where we come from, it's not normal at all. It's not normal.
That's a great point. I think when it feels natural, you just start seeing it everywhere and it doesn't become a big thing.
Yeah.
But when you're first entering into that energetic frequency, there is that surprise and delight and the whoa.
Yeah, but he said, like, no, like, this is just very normal, Whereas for us, bro, like, no ways did that happen. Can't believe that happened. That was insane. Whoa, what? Whereas for them, they're just like, bro, it's a very normal thing. And I guess it's just, as you say, right, it is just their traditions, it's their religion, it's the things that they cultivate, it's the energy that they cultivate. They are operating on a very different frequency.
I think that's why Bali works so well, is it attracts outsiders that resonate with these sort of beliefs into a culture that already has a place for those beliefs.
Yeah, we just act them out in a bit of a different way.
For sure.
It's just a little bit, I would love to see, like, the Westerners from a Balinese perspective, like I would love to see a whole bunch of people come to my country, for example. I would love to see a whole bunch of, like, Balinese people come to South Africa and just, like, see how they, like, just how they drive scooters, and just see how they come into, let's say, our local ceremonial ways of doing things in South Africa, and kind of like taking what they want out of it. And it would be quite funny to have that perspective, but I think regardless, there's still a lot of love and a lot of respect, between locals and foreigners. And
I hope so.
I've only had really good experiences, good interactions. They're like, dude, every Balinese person that I know is like family to me, and they've been like family to me. They've treated me as if I've been family. I'm yet to meet an arsehole, and if I have, maybe it's just having a shitty day. But like 99% of people, I think it's also maybe because 99% of people that I interact with are in hospitality, restaurants, cafes, Airbnbs, booking.coms. Of course, like they will be nice, but in general, dude, everyone's just kind.
There is a special energy here. It's not just hospitality, because hospitality exists in every country.
Exactly right. And you get arseholes. Yeah.
Yeah, you can really tell if someone's genuine or not.
But here they're genuine.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's insane. It's infectious, actually.
It makes you kinder, more compassionate, more thoughtful.
Yeah, you don't have to speak so loud. You can just be soft. It's all good.
Yeah.
That's it.
Damian, it's been such a pleasure to have you on the podcast. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom, your insights, your lessons. Is there a final piece of advice you'd like to leave the listener with on how they can lead a more heart-centered, aligned, epic life?
It's going to go back to a point that I made, is boundaries. Boundaries. Like, you don't need to cut people off. Don't take my advice. That's also not the best advice to cut off a brother or a sister. It's not something that you should do lightly, right? It's not something that you should
you can reduce the time.
You can reduce that's it, bro. Is like, look at just putting small boundaries in place, seeing if that works. I put small boundaries in place and they didn't work, and then I took a bigger step, right? It's like, if you want to block off a road, you start by using small cones before you just completely put one of those big plastic things in the middle to stop traffic coming through. It's kind of the same thing of just, if you want to live a happier, more fulfilled, abundant life, and you want to essentially cultivate a better energy for yourself, right, through people, experiences, places, it's going to take cutting certain boundaries, not people even, but your own habits, your own ego, your own distractions, your own, if, let's say, you really, really, really want to go and experience a beautiful part of the world, but you don't have money, Look what you're spending your money on and put boundaries in place to stop spending so much money on a box of cigarettes a day. Simple. You know what I mean? Like, such a simple thing. Downgrade to a cheaper box. I don't know. Like, obviously I don't smoke cigarettes, but like, there's many things, but you don't need to be going past a place every single morning for a takeaway coffee. You could just make a cup of coffee at home, or you can take a flask. You can do the whole day's worth of coffee in there. And now cutting back on 2 coffees a day, right, times the next 6 months is your flights to Bali, right? So put boundaries in place for yourself even, because when you say no to one thing, you're saying yes to another.
Make sure you're saying hell yes to
Hell
the
yes.
things that are really lighting you up.
Yeah, that's it. When you say no to something, it's a hell yes to another. And also, if you're saying yes to one thing, it's also a hell no to another, right?
Yeah.
So, pick your poison, set your boundaries, and write it down. If I look at the background of my phone, I've got 3 different backgrounds: business, brain, and body. And each of them are vision boards for business, brain, and body. What are the things that I want to achieve in my life for all 3 of these different areas? Write that down, visualize it, put it as a background on your computer.
I love that. Yeah.
Simple things.
You switch them out depending on what mood you're in?
All the time.
So when you want to focus on brain, you put the brain
That's
one
it,
on.
bro. On the weekends, I just actually put it on body, go for a massage, reflexology.
What a great technique. I love that.
Dude, I love it. Like, it's also aesthetically nice photos to look at off Pinterest. And actually, half of the photos on these vision boards are my own photos of me scuba diving.
Yeah.
Of me on the beach. Of me standing underneath a waterfall. Simple. Just cultivate it. I know it seems crazy. All of this seems crazy, right? Like, to sit down and write about your feelings and to create a vision board. That's so feminine, all of that. Well, maybe that's why you're fucking failing, because you're so stuck in your masculine and you don't realize that there is a feminine. But that's a completely different
That's a whole other podcast.
bro. You know what I mean? That's something that I've recently understood. And yeah, accepted that there's feminine areas that I need to also actually focus on.
You're someone who I feel is very balanced in their feminine and their masculine.
At the moment, I'm trying to be. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. So that's another thing, is start, as crazy as it seems, go into a bookstore, go to the Eastern philosophies and self-help and self-development sections, and go take out a book from each one. Do your research, but I can tell you 99% of people out there don't read. Don't do research.
My favorite quote about reading is, it's like eating. Whatever you eat, one meal itself is not going to shape you.
Yeah.
But over the years, every single meal literally is what your body is composed of.
Yeah.
And it's the same with reading. Every single page you read, it's literally what your mind and your thoughts become.
Yeah, that's it. So what do you spend most of your time doing? That's what's, what the outcome is going to essentially be. If you spend most of your time partying, drinking, and distracting yourself, then don't be surprised when you're tired and worn out and maybe alone at some point. Or you can actually just spend the time now, as difficult as it is, as time consuming as it is, it's the same amount of time. You go party for 6 to 8 hours, you could have read a whole book in that time. But what's the priority? What do you want for yourself?
That's such a great point.
What's the priority? What do you want for yourself? You can watch Netflix 5 days of the week. No hate. I watch Netflix all the time. But if you're in shit body composition, you're out of shape, you have health problems because of it, and you had those 2 hours a day to watch Netflix, was it that you didn't have time to go train, or it wasn't a priority for you? So write down a list of priorities. What's important to you? And then set boundaries. Sorry, guys, I am not coming out this weekend because I have committed to running a marathon in 3 months, and I need to be up at 6 o'clock on Saturday morning because I need to show up for myself, because I'm more important than you.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line. And if someone criticizes that, that is your first person that you then need to just put a little strike with. That's it. We're not completely kicking you out, but now we're considering the option of not needing you because you're not supportive of me, my goals, my dreams, my health. And that's where I left it. That's how I made decisions. You don't support me, you're against me. Allah.
Perfectly said, man. Thank you so much.
For sure.
Where can people find you to connect with you?
You can find me online. My website is www.allroundercoaching.com. My Instagram is Damian_the_allrounder. And if anyone has any questions, anything health, fitness, body composition related, or just want to get some information about what I do, then please feel free to reach out. The door is always open.
Reach out to Damian if your birthday is September 11th.
Yeah, how epic. Yeah, let's get a September 11th club.
Let's get all the Virgos together.
Yeah. Go to a massive breathwork session or something. That'd be rad.
Dude, thank you so much.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it.